agree, huh? You look great.
We're live, The German Woman on Airplay 2020.
Hey, welcome to 2020 and welcome to December. We made it through this year almost. I'm not going to say anything else. Don't want to jinx it. But I have a very, very special guest on Determined Women this month. Her name is Theo Herghelegiu. And she is, to say the least, an awesome artist, a playwright, an actor, a director, and a translator. I was looking for one of my avant-garde plays to be translated just to see if it would work in another language. And I was amazed. And I don't even know. And I started reading her work and it was like, whoa, it's like way beyond what I could imagine. So welcome, Theo.
I'm happy to be here, Connie. Happy to see you again.
Yes, really, always good to see you.
Yeah.
Your work is amazing. It is just amazing. Tell me a little bit how you got started in the theater. Tell our audience, because they want to know about you.
In the theater? Well, actually, when I was 2, I was hoping to become a ballerina. But then, yeah, and I was obsessed with that. I mean, I was just very annoying to my family because I was doing ballet to them all the time. And when I got 7, imagine how it looked like. And when I got 7, I was misvaccinated. And I got myself an increased spleen. It's what they call splenomegalia. I don't know if that's the right word in English, but my spleen swallowed and it stood like this for tens of years. And I was forbidden, totally forbidden to do any sports or ballet or any kind of physical effort. So that's when I decided I should be an actress because I couldn't be a ballerina.
But yeah, that's very strenuous. It really is.
Yeah.
Theo is from Romania and she's in Romania right now. What time is it there? I know it's late.
It is, no, for me it's not late because I'm on Los Angeles time.
Oh.
So it's midnight. It's 12:02 midnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little later than us, but yeah. So tell us about after the ballet, and then after. You know, it's interesting. So many artists go through a physical thing when they're little. Like I went through, I couldn't breathe. I was allergic to everything on the planet. But like so many artists, the stories are endless. But after you decided to be an actress, where did you go? Did you go to school? What did you do? How did you get into it?
I went to school and then to high school, and I was very focused on becoming an actress. And the fact is that all this period was under the communist era in Romania, under Ceausescu's regime, where it was pretty impossible to attend a school for acting or directing, because it's very much to detail here. But I will only say this: there were only 2 positions for only 2 students a year, no more.
Really?
Yeah, and those 2 for directing, and for acting there were like 4 or 5 for 1 year, for 1 generation, and those positions were occupied by the children of the actors, imagine, and so on. So if you're a simple mortal, no chance.
Yeah.
So I went to the university because I was writing since I was little also. So I said, okay, it's gonna be literature, it's gonna be English teacher for a future. And while I was in the university in the 2nd year, the revolution came, the fall of the wall, of the Berlin Wall, and the fall of the communism. So it was freedom, so I could go anywhere I wanted to attend the school. So I graduated the university, and then I started to prepare myself for acting, but my professor told me I have to improve my voice, and that would be a 1 year or 2 years time work, and it was late already. I was 26, so I had no time to prepare for acting anymore. So I went to directing, and I attended theater direction, and I graduated in '98, and ever since that was my master in my life, theater.
Excellent. Excellent. It is. It becomes your that's a good way to put it. It becomes your master.
Yeah.
Your mastery of words. When did you start translating? Like, to me, that's awesome. I can't even handle theater in one language. So when did you start translating?
Translating theater, I started pretty late after I graduated at the School of Theater. But translating, I started, I think, when I was in high school, and I started with Byron because I was in love with Byron, because I had seen a movie where the part of Byron was performed by Richard Chamberlain, an old movie.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I fell in love with Chamberlain / Byron. So I wanted to translate some of his poems, and I discovered I like it a lot. And then I did it now and then since I was like 16 all my life.
You're amazing. It's just amazing. The piece you did for me is just, and we're going to do that piece. I'm going to bring it to Romania. I swear we're going to do it.
We have that project on the roll.
Yes, definitely. But your writing. Let's talk about your writing. This show is about women in theater, determined women, and you are determined to create a world beyond the imagination. I mean, some people write closet dramas, traditional straight plays, traditional musicals, fantasy, but your work is out of this world. It really is. And it takes you, whether it's nitty gritty and real, it still takes you out of this world. It's your power of language speaks for itself. Where do you get your ideas? Like, where do, these experiences, you told me an experience once about something that happened to you. I believe in things that happen like this. And if you would like to share, that would be great. I want to hear about your stories. I will.
You mean the abnormal happening with the stone? But yeah, I will go to that.
So many people go into this whole thing. It's, that's not normal. That's supernatural. And it's like, no, supernatural doesn't mean ghosts and goblins, right?
No. Right. You're right. Supernatural is here, is everywhere around us. We just have to open our eyes and see it. But things are connected. Since you asked me, how do I write? How do I get my ideas? It's funny because last week or so, I was talking to one of my best friends and wonderful Romanian actresses. Her name is Dana. I was talking to Dana over the phone, and she would ask me the same question. How do you write all this stuff? And I told her, look, it's different from directing. When I direct, I feel, of course, is the grace and the inspiration and the music and everything. But when I do this work as a director, I feel that is the man, the human being, the woman, the real woman in me, who has something to say, who has some skills or not, who has collected some experience and knowledge and so on and so on and so on. And it's about practicing and about using very concretely those skills. It's the person, it's the man who does that. And of course the inspiration sooner or later, but it's the man who does this craft. It's about craft. While when I write, it's not me. I mean, of course it's me, but I am just the hand that holds the pen or pushes the keyboard of the computer. It is not me. I feel like from somewhere, somebody is just delivering ideas into my head. And the craft part in writing is smaller, much smaller compared to the craft part in directing, because the most important things comes from somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's like dictating, and then after the first draft, of course, you start, correcting, improving some expressions, blah, 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 and so on, better. And there's the craft, there's the man. But until then, it's an entity, I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. So tell us about the little stone statue, and because always felt, I've never been, but I've always felt that Romania, I have Romanian descent, and then my grandfather told me stories about the Carpathian Mountains. My great grandfather told my mother, and then so I have some roots there. But it's always been a magical place, a vortex, if you want to call it that. So tell me a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and my ex-husband at the time, we were very young. The story took place in '93. Whoa, ages ago. Well, we had just moved together in a flat in a very nice neighborhood, which was actually an important avenue, parallel to another important avenue. And these two important avenues were connected by small streets. And we used to come home taking one of those small streets to our house. And we saw in front of a house, in a garden, in front of a big, beautiful house with stone stairs, we saw a small statue, small like this. I mean, well, not very small, but it was pretty much this size, yes, of gray stone. And it showed a little bear in a very funny position with his head on his front paws like this, and he butts up, you know, like a dog. Like, it was funny. And we put him a name, and whenever we were passing over there, we would wave him, and so on and so on. That happened in '93. One night, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years later, I dreamt that the little bear had come to life and left into the little bear's world. And I said, gee, what a dream. Very funny. It happens. The fact is that the next day when I passed through the street, the little bear wasn't there anymore. And I thought, okay, maybe the owners of the house took it, put it somewhere, whatever. Years later, when I was in Germany for a scholarship, the teachers there asked us to bring every foreign student to bring from their country a photo with a place where a statue had been, and it was no longer there. And it was in '99. And I thought of taking a picture of the place where Stalin's statue used to be, the great Stalin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Was no longer there, obviously. But then I thought a lot of people were coming from the Eastern Europe, from ex-communist countries. So probably most of them would do this. So let me do something more personal. Let me take a picture with the place where the little bear used to be, and there's no longer there. And I did that. Nothing is supernatural or not natural so far. But then my mama said, why don't you ask the owners to let you take a picture of the little bear wherever it is. Maybe it's in the basement or in the attic. And I told her, but Mom, I don't know these people. I can't just knock on their door and ask. She said, why not? Okay, then I'll come with you. Then we went there, knocked at the door. A young man opened. I told him all the story and politely asked him, if possible, to let me take a picture of that little bear, which was no longer there. And the young man looked at me with his eyes big and said, what little bear? So I went, like, with the statue. Which statue? The statue that used to be here and now is no longer here. And he said, we never had a statue here. And I said, no, why do you lie to me? And he said, look at this place. And when I looked at the stone support where it was supposed to be, I noticed that on its surface, no trace, no shape, no nothing. Had a stone statue been there for years, it would have left a mark, you know what I mean? It was nothing. I didn't know what to believe, so to make a long story short, we tried and asked different people in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. There was a little shop nearby the house, and when we entered there, it was full of old people, and one of them told us, yes, it used to be a statue here, but it was in the Second World War, and then a bomb fell and it destroyed it, and it never. And I said, okay, they are crazy. And then I asked someone who was living next door, opposite on the street, and he said, I was born here, I'm 71 now, but I don't remember neither to have seen it or not. Then I asked a lady who was taking her door for a walk. And she said, yes, yes, I remember that statue. But after the revolution, after 89, it wasn't there anymore. Well, we had moved in 93. So, and everybody had a different story. And then I went to the house, which was quite next to this house. And there lived a guy, a man, who was the son of one of our greatest actors ever. The actor's name is George Vraca. His son was living there. He was very strange. He was unshaved, his hair disheveled, wearing dirty pajamas, like escaped from an asylum or something.
Yeah.
And he just opened the door a bit, listened to the story, and then said, yeah, it was here until a few years ago. And I was like, yeah, that's what I saw. And he said, yeah, but now there's no longer there because this house is gonna come into pieces. And he slammed the door. Okay. The truth is that house is still standing, but it almost came into pieces in time. And when I told this story to one of my friends and said, look, it's crazy. These people are crazy. What happened? He said to me, why are you so surprised? And why do you search for explanations? Didn't you know that in this area here where you live, there is a portal, and you have just experienced a time gap, like a time fault, and you have simply went in the past and come back every time you passed over there. And I said, yes, look, but for years on end, every day, every single day. And I showed it to my friends, and my ex-husband saw it every time. So it was not hallucination. Nobody has I don't know, a pertinent explanation for this. And the only thing that I can go with, although it's like science fiction novels, is that time gap portal, which was open for a while.
Time warp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the story doesn't end here, because after all this adventure with asking people and interviewing them and coming back again to the owner, who was like, if you are from the state and you want to take our house, please go away. It was,
sure.
Yeah, ridiculous, absolutely. After all this adventure, I dreamt I was on the street, and there was a young couple, coming from the opposite direction with a big, huge white dog on their leash. And the dog spoke to me in my dream, telling me, don't worry so much, don't make a fuss about it, it's me. I have now passed into this dog, and I'm very happy with these two masters of mine. And when I woke up, I said, oh, I'm probably thinking too much about this, and now look, messages. And that very day, walking on the street and looking like very nostalgic to that house, where there was no statue any longer, of course, when I moved my eyes straight forward, I saw a couple coming with a huge white dog on their leash. I felt like I just stood still. I was like, oh gosh. And they entered a certain yard. They entered to a certain address. I waited for them to be inside, and then I continued my way and went home. And that's it. And that happened in 93, 95, 94, 95. And then, I told you after that in 99.
You know, and that's fascinating to me, because when you can get through the time-space grid, and they actually now, they just said two people, it wasn't Harvard, I can't remember what it was, two students have conquered the time-space continuum and can do this time travel. I think that if we can understand this, and I have this in one of my new plays, Kingdom Come, if we can understand time is a mystery to us, but yet it controls us. And I don't think it's meant to. And I think if we can see beyond time, I mean, I think that's what you saw. You saw beyond time. You lived beyond time. And in the whole idea of a revision of time, I think, you know, a lot of people are throwing out these ideas about 1984, and this is the new age, and this is a control time. this is a time for liberation, I think. I mean, you know, I think that the veils are lifting, and that's what happened to you right then and there. I mean, I believe that with my whole heart and soul. I've had experiences like that. My partner, Joe Eisen, has had experiences like that. I've talked to people, frankly, about experiences that you have, and look at that story. You can tell that story. This is how you know it's real. You can tell that story like it happened yesterday.
Yeah.
The thing, you don't forget it. You know, that's like the same thing with rape. People talk about rape. How do you remember the details? It's like, no, you don't forget. You know, when something that out of body happens, when something like that happens with an experience that penetrates the fabric of reality, you know what I mean? And that's, I mean, I think that's how, you know, when you have an experience like this, then I'm not going to ask you, Jill, what do you think you're supposed to do with that? Because that's the general phrase. People always say, oh, what do you think it means? And it's like, no, it actually goes into the fabric of who you are and what you do. And what you do as a writer, as a director, as an artist, that kind of experience permeates it.
Absolutely. It germinates inside you somehow. I don't know how to explain that, but it's like a seed which stays there and then flourishes. And even if I have never written something about this story, or I have never done a show about it, it doesn't matter. It's there. And as you say, it just configurates the personality you are. And I have no doubt it happened, because the fact is that my ex-husband, who witnesses all these thousands of times that we saw that statue, was the most skeptical man you can ever meet, was a very Cartesian person, was that kind of person who needed to touch a thing and smell and taste in order to believe it exists.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, if he saw it, then it was there. And our friends saw it. So, but it was not the only experience I lived in. This was the most spectacular. I agree with that. But it is not the only one, and I'm not the only person I know who has this kind of experiences. I mean, people maybe have just to be very attentive around, and things would happen to them.
Yeah, I agree. Attentive. It's, you don't pay attention to what's going on. And when you don't pay attention to what's going on, you don't actually see. And I think the whole idea of seeing, it was making me think when you were talking before about, you know, why do we do theater? Why do we do this? You know, like, why do we do theater? I think it has something to do with seeing behind the curtain, you know, seeing behind the veil, raise the curtain, and then.
It always has to do with something beyond, I think, also something beyond. But this is the noble part of this job, of this profession. I must admit, I am a very selfish person when it comes to theater, and I do theater because I'm very happy to share. I think it's about togetherness. This job, the work, the rehearsal to do before the premiere, before the opening, for a director, I mean, it's all about sharing that joy. That is like a lighting bolt. It's like 1 second and it's gone. Mm-hmm. And it's very rich and very enhancing. And when you share that kind of feeling and that kind of emotion, when you share it with people, well, that's a feeling I have nothing else to compare it to. It's unique.
I know what you mean, because it's like the light in you flicks into somebody else. And when it flicks into somebody else and you both get the same light, and it never decreases. I mean, it's the light in you goes into somebody else, and when their light turns on and then you get it together, it's like, you know, it's that. And then when that happens with an entire audience, that's the goal. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I mean, I think that would explain how, I don't know, like a singer like Barbra Streisand or Pavarotti can, one person on a stage can boosh. You know what I mean? And it's just like bing, 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 bing. All the lights go on. It's almost, you know, like a rock concert with all the flashlights and the lighters. And it's you got to wonder how that happens. And it's so simple, and it's so short, and it's so small, but yet it's not. It's huge. You know, like maybe that's the Big Bang. We just keep repeating it and repeating it, repeating it. You know?
Yeah, it's a matter of power. Indeed, it's a matter of power and of very, very strong energy that the artist, a singer, an actor, an instrument player, being on stage can simply invade the audience with. He can wash a whole auditorium with that energy of his, of hers. But on the other hand, this power, I think it makes us addicted. It's very addictive. That power, and it's not vanity. It's not because you want glory or because you want your name with huge letters on the banners downtown. No, it's the power of, it's like being drugged, quotation marks, is the drug of power, of giving all that energy to people and of taking back that energy from them. Because if you have a good energy and if you are good at what you do and you share this energy to the audience, they absolutely send it back to you 100 times more powerful.
Absolutely.
And we become addicted to that, and it's so tricky.
I think it has one other thing. I think it has that factor of defining that energy of life, which is love. And when we share love, unconditionally divine love, that higher love. You and I talked about a writer that you knew, you know, or an actor or somebody that you knew. And, you know, when you talk about that poetic love, that higher love, like the woman that was in love with Beethoven, or when two artists love, it's unexplainable. You know, it's just you know, and when you have a love for somebody that's higher, or they have that for you, it's hard to explain. It's just there, and it just lights up, you know, it does it. So, yeah. Well,
some time ago, somebody asked me, well, you are an artist, tell me what inspiration is. And that happened like about 10 years ago. And ever since, I've been thinking about this question, and I didn't find an answer. What's inspiration?
Inspire, in spirit. And it's the spirit. When you get into the spirit, and love is like a flame. I mean, love is a flame. It's a flame, and, you know, it can burn down your house or it can warm you, you know, so it's a very powerful tool for the spirit. And I think that's, you know, the inspiration comes to you like that. Yeah, I love talking to you. You're wonderful. I got 2 minutes, and I want to ask you what you think's going on right now for the world at large and for theaters. I mean, you have one of the greatest philosophic minds that I know, Theo.
Oh, thank you. You're embarrassing me. I think that, well, I believe in God to begin with, but that has nothing to do with my answer, because I think that what's happening now is Mother Nature, who is absolutely there, and we can't ignore her existence. Mother Nature is kind of paying back to us some bad things we've done during centuries, and so on and so on. And I think she's teaching us a lesson, like you have to teach and educate a little naughty child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The lesson is take care how you behave, because you are not the most powerful thing in the universe.
No, I agree.
That's what I think it happens now. Like you think you are powerful. Look at this microscopic thing, how it can overthrow your world overnight. So you are not that powerful.
Yes, absolutely, man. And what do you think is going to happen in the theater? I mean, just a projection, just an idea. What do you think? What do you think we're going to do with live theater?
3 things. Probably some hybrid genres will appear, like these Zoom productions that are already very, very fashionable. A new hybrid type of theater, which is not theater, is not movie, something in between.
Okay.
2, and it will develop more and more, even when the pandemic is over. Two, during the pandemic, until the last moment before they say now you go to normal, theaters and people doing theater will adapt, will reinvent themselves, will find a lot of ways to work and to do art, because they can't just stay. If they stay, they die. We have to move in order to live, and we'll find ways to move. And the third thing, after it's over, when it's over, and the world just comes back to normal, to what it was before, more or less, everything will reopen. Theater, private, whatever, they will reopen, and they will do projects which will contain, in my opinion, a bigger dose of sensitivity, because what we have experienced is like a wound which heals in time, but there will be a mark left there. And that mark on the theater's face, to speak metaphorically, that mark would be a plus of sensitivity and a plus of subtleness, I hope, and I suppose.
Wow, you certainly, Theo, you have a way with words, and I want to thank you. And I want to say goodnight to you. We're just starting our evening here in US, but thank you so much.
It was a lovely time.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
That was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connie.